So glad you're here today. I love the 90s. If you're worshiping with us in the comments, glad you're here today as well. And we're closing off I Love the 90s with the Backstreet Boys. That's amazing. Next weekend, we're starting a new message series called I Love My Church. And we're going to take a look at the little book of 1 Thessalonians. It's in the New Testament, so if you want to open up your Bibles, turn right. You'll eventually find it. It's really little, and we're going to spend a few weeks in there. And if you want to read the first chapter of 1 Thessalonians, that gets you going on the deal, right? So today, Backstreet Boys, I Love the 90s. And these guys have sold over 130 million records, most ever by a boy band. Their first 9 albums reached top 10 on Billboard. And in 1999, they released Millennium. It sold 1.3 million records in the first week and became the best-selling album in 1999. And they embarked on a Millennium Tour, which they sold out 115 concerts in 84 cities. Their concert at the Georgia Dome was the 5th largest concert ever on American soil and the largest ever for a pop artist. I Want It That Way is their signature song. And this song seems to be about a couple who can't get it together. Someone does want, you are my fire, you are my desire, but we are worlds apart. Now, I don't know if you ever felt like that. I mean, you're in a relationship, you just can't get on the same page. Maybe you're even married and you're laying next to somebody and you're thinking, how did we get so far apart? How did we grow? It's like at one point and maybe this is a mistake. Maybe we made a big mistake. Now, kind of today, what I want to do is just kind of help. It's mostly for singles. So if you're don't check out. But I mean, if you're dating and you're thinking, I'm just kind of getting started in the dating world. I like it. It's fun, But maybe you think you've given up. You have given up on men. You may have given up again. You just can't find somebody. You've done the bar scene. You haven't done anything. But what I kind of want to do today is have the talk with you. Because most of the time when I end up talking with couples, they come back in, like, we're having troubles. I think this is too easy. I mean, didn't your mommy talk to you about this? Didn't your dad have the talk? So today we're having the talk. And I will use the S word, the 3-letter one. And so if you have to... but we'll talk about this and try to figure these things out. So maybe you are dating and it's fun and you like the variety and you like the sex and you like having a good time and you're thinking, this is dumb, I don't want to even be here, but my girlfriend, and so don't check out. Well, you can, but I mean, someday you're going to need this message. And you might, you think back, you go, what did he say? What was that? And you just call up the church and say, I need the Backstreet Boys guy thing, and help me out, and here you go. So I want to tell you some things that your mom should have told you, all right? Here it is. Number 1, your past is going to show up in your marriage. Your past, the way you're doing dating now, the way you're doing relationship now, the way you do sexuality stuff now, it will show up. After 30 years of dealing with people, is that what I found out that people with problems get married. You can write that down. That's brilliant. People with problems get married. And most of the time, the problems, they're not marriage problems. When they come and talk with me, it's not marriage problems. Marriage problems are easy to fix. I can fix a marriage problem just like that, right? Marriage problems is kind of like this. You're married and you have one tube of toothpaste and one person squeezes it the correct way and the other one person is like all willy-nilly, like they just squeeze wherever they want. It's like, what kind of insane person picks up a toothpaste tube and just squeezes wherever they want, right? This is dumb, right? And you're thinking, well, chill out. Like why? Try squeezing it in a different place. And that doesn't make any sense. So here, I will solve that problem for you right now. It's easy. Get another tube of toothpaste. That's free. I mean, $75 an hour. We can just, right? So here you go. Here we go. Get a different one. That'll help you out. That'll help your marriage out. Don't get another person. She's like, I got to go find a person that squeezes the correct way. No. Just get another tube of toothpaste. It's easy. It's very, very easy. Most of the time, though, we bring in problems from our past, and we don't know exactly how to handle that. And we think, well, I should have married somebody else. Because if I'd have married the right person they wouldn't care at all if I squeezed here, right? A right person would tolerate and put up with, and in fact, probably even promote the squeezing of toothpaste all willy-nilly. They don't even care. Oh, you're so beautiful, you squeeze it. No, they don't care. So we think, I should have found the right person. And if I find the right person, this is what you're thinking. If I find the right person, everything in my marriage will be all right. Because it won't matter. I need to find the right person. I need to find my soulmate. I love that. Soulmate. If I find my soulmate, they won't care. They will not care about my past, how I dated, how many women I have, how many guys I've slept with. They won't care because they're Mr. Right. It won't matter. And boy, then you, okay. I'm just saying that I know that you probably think the moment you stand before a pastor or maybe for a judge and you're looking at each other and you think, this is going to be awesome because I found the right person. But the right person always brings their past with them. Always does. Yesterday I stood before a couple. We had an incredible wedding, and it's super fun. They're a couple from our church here, Addison and Bree, and it's just and their mom and dad. We're very good friends. And one of the things that really hit me yesterday was so cool that mom and dad had their small group with them, and they were all invited. And I'm just watching them celebrate and high five and hug each other, and they're so proud. And it's just an incredible moment because as parents in your small group, kids, you need to know your parents in the small group. They pray about this and they think about this and they hope that someday their kid will find the right person, right? In the godly man, the godly woman. And so this is a culmination of probably years in a small group dreaming about this moment as a group together. So this is just like, when this group is getting together, they're like, boom, this is awesome. And then Bree and Addison's group is there as well. And they're having fun and they're dancing, and this is just a celebration moment. And I thought, both groups are there. And life is way better when you do it like that. So I just continue to encourage you, find your way into a group, and weddings will be super fun, and it's super, super cool when that happens. So, maybe you're in a relationship now, you're married, and you're thinking, we got problems, and this is what you think. Usually the girl thinks this, we should have a baby. That'll help us get closer together. That'll make everything all right. And so she brings that up, and the guy says, well, that involves sex, so okay. Let's try, right? He's thinking, let's try. And so what happens is that, if you got problems, the baby doesn't make the problems go away. It doesn't help at all. In fact, it makes it probably more intense at that moment. And just so you know, and again, nobody probably ever tells you this, but one of the most vulnerable times in a marriage is during pregnancy. And you wouldn't think it. It's like, what kind of scumbag does that? Well, are you serious? You're going to cheat? You're going to leave your wife? It happens all the time. And there's lots of issues with that, but it's a very vulnerable time in a marriage. So you be very, very careful about that. Okay, so I want to have a great marriage. I want to enjoy my life with my wife or with my husband. And so what do I do? How do I do that? Recently, I saw something on Twitter. Somebody tweeted, I am thinking about asking myself to homecoming. And I thought that was funny. And I wanted to tweet, but Linda, sometimes she didn't let me do stuff. But I was going to tweet back, you probably won't like the answer. It's like, I don't want to go out with you. Andy Stanley said it this way. I really like it. He says, are you becoming the person that you are looking for is looking for? Are you that person so that when you find Mr. Right, you find Mrs. Right, that Mr. or Mrs. Right would even want to be with you? Because of the way you're living and doing stuff and you might meet the right person, but that right person going, you're not right for me. And so this is a kind of an exercise for us today to look inside and see how we're doing. So basically what I want us to do is just spend a little bit of time on the love chapter, 1 Corinthians 13. You all know this. If you've been to weddings here last month or two, you're just like, oh, yeah, they read that every time. Yeah. So 1 Corinthians 13, and we'll just dive in here. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude, and it doesn't demand its own way. It's not irritable. It keeps no record of being wrong. It does not rejoice about injustice, always rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up. We just sang that, right? Never gives up. And think about that. If God gave up on you and me, if there was a point, there's like a moment where he says, I'm done. I'm done with you. You crossed the line so many times. You took advantage of my love and my grace, and I'm out. Woof. Love never loses faith. It's always hopeful, endures through every. I love that word, every. It's a good thing that word is there, right? Endures through most would be bad, right? Or some. Every. Love endures through every circumstance. So love is patient. And why do you think he puts it there first, right? It's because it's of importance. Anytime there's a list in the Bible and they start here, the first thing they say is the highest value, right? It's the most important. I want you to get this. Love is patient. Love is not impatient. And the reason I think that the writers put that in there is because that they look around the world, that they see a lot of impatient people. See, lust is always impatient. Love waits. It always does. And if somebody's pressuring you, that's not because they love you, especially when they say something like this, well, if you love me, you'd let me. What? See, that's not love, that's lust. You need to know that. Your mama needed to tell you that. That is not love. That's lust. And so when they say, hey, if, we love each other, we should, okay. And you might think, oh, this is Mr. Right because chemistry is so important. We got the chemistry thing going, and I know what you'll say. Nobody has ever loved like this, ever in the history of the world. I think about him all the time. He can't keep his hands off of me. It's like, oh, this is so good, and we get the chemistry thing going. But in our microwave culture, being patient is not usually something that is developed. We want it now. We're impatient if we don't get our way. One of the ways I think that you can tell if a person's impatient is by credit card stuff. Credit card says, I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait. And so I think that's a conversation that you can have in the relationship, and you say, how you can see how they're doing spending money, and do you spend more than you get, and you got this big massive amount of thing on this bit, and all of a sudden you should be going, I don't think that person is very mature. Because patience has to do with maturity. Think about that. Immature people are what? They don't want to wait. They're not very patient. Think about the most immature people you know. They're probably 5 years old, right? And a 5-year-old is immature, and they're impatient. 4-year-old even worse, 3-year-old even worse, right? They're not patient people, and you think, what's wrong with you people? No, we don't think about that. We say they're 3 years old. Now, if a person who's 25 or 30 years old is acting like a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, we're going, wow, you're not very patient. Maturity, as you mature, you become more and more patient. Love is kind. I saw evidence of this the other night on TV, and I'm not even sure what show I was watching, but the host asked the lady what the secret was to their marriage. And they had been married for over 30 years, and the lady said, we are kind to each other. That's an amazing statement. we are kind. Because most of the time we think, well, the sex is awesome, or we got more money than we can spend, or, and you could just fill in the blanks. But when she said that, I thought, whoa, I think they will probably stay married for a lifetime. That's amazing. We are kind to each other. One commentator said that this word kindness could also have been sweetness. Kindness is getting up with a crying baby. Kindness is cleaning up vomit. Kindness is changing a blowout diaper so your wife doesn't have to. That's incredibly kind. One time Linda paid me $10 to clean a diaper. You laugh, but that was a lot of money. I was on an allowance for $10 a week, and I just doubled it right there. I said, got any more? I strapped on the Rambo thing, boom, and I'm like in there, and I'm, That wasn't kindness on my part. I wanted the money. Kindness is saying every so often, hey, it's Taco Tuesday. You want to go out and have something to eat? See, that's just being kind. Kindness is measured in the little things. Christians, by the way, I think as an overall general rule, at times we forget about kindness. We care a lot about truth-telling, but we lost the sense of kindness in our culture. Maybe you're familiar with this song. If you see your brother standing by the road with a heavy load from the seeds he sowed, and if you see your sister falling by the way, just stop and say, hey, you're going the wrong way. You got to try a little kindness. Yes, show a little kindness. Just shine your light for everyone to see. And if you try a little kindness, then you'll overlook the blindness of a narrow-minded people on the narrow-minded streets. Now, most of you don't even have a clue who that is. That's Glenn Campbell. I had to explain that because I thought, well, we should probably sing that, so I'd bring that to our worship department, and none of them knew Glenn Campbell. So I made them watch Glenn Campbell songs all afternoon. So we're going to now watch Galveston, and we're going to watch the Rhinestone Cowboy, and we're going to watch, right? And by the time I get to Phoenix, and by the time they were done, it's like, see? Are we going to sing it now? They said, no, we're not doing it. So love is kind. Next thing is love is not jealous. And it is quite possible that your parents divorced over this one. Jealousy throws out love all the time. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud. Pride gets in the middle of a marriage and a relationship. And so if you struggle with this, and here's how I'd say that would be helpful for you in a marriage, is that if you want to get rid of jealousy in your relationship, that you need to boast about your spouse out loud to other people. Brag about them. It's super valuable. What I tend to hear is more like, they're mad, and it's mostly negative comments. I hear a husband talk about his wife, and if she was more, and all of a sudden I go, oh, I think this relationship is in big trouble. But when I hear a husband boast about his wife and the things that she's doing and how she's doing things at work or with the kids, I know this guy has got it figured out. For many years, Linda would speak here at our largest women's event at StoneBridge called our Spring Treat event, and hundreds of women would come in here. I mean, this place is packed with women, and Linda would speak, and then I would hear about it, how great a job she would do. Ladies would go on and on and on about how funny she is, and I better watch out, she might take my job. And that's all true. She's an incredible speaker. And she is funny and articulate and insightful. And she could easily do my job. There's no way I could do hers, because she's a bookkeeper, and it would be a mess by week 2. Sure, you want to buy that? Sure. Hey, balance things? No. But if I was jealous of her, and I have every reason to be jealous of her skill set and life things, I would have imploded my marriage. Truly would have. Love is not jealous. Okay, this is huge. Love does not demand its own way, and you can figure that one out. Love is not irritable. Love is not irritable. This is kind of crazy different. I don't know if you've ever become exasperated with other people, things. Seems to me that if you live with somebody, a spouse, a child, or a roommate, there will be moments when you will become exasperated with them. It just is. We call that losing our temper now. Kipling said the test of a man is if he can keep his head when everyone else is losing theirs and then blaming him for it. The man that can master his temper can master anything. And so are you becoming that person that just a little bit, like a little thing that irritates you? And you've probably seen that. In fact, I would say if you go to Walmart, you see it all the time. So there's a little thing, and you get in the wrong line of things. Maybe even today you're getting coffee, and somebody's, it's not quickly enough. And you're just a little, and you get irritated about that. And just so you know, you will see that usually that's not something that happens after you get married. That's something as you're dating somebody. And again, I'm not talking about, I think it's okay to be irritated on a Saturday afternoon. Right? You know that, right? It's okay. Right now it's okay. But we're talking way more than just getting frustrated at a football team or a baseball team or something like that, right? But you can find those things out. It's usually, again, I would say you can find that out pretty early on in the game, things. Another thing he says here, love keeps no record of being wrong. And that word literally means it's an accounting word. It is filling out the ledger, like keeping score. And we keep score in just about every area of our life because how else are we supposed to know if we're winning or not? And that's usually how, it's like we know, even if we got 4-year-olds and they're playing T-ball, we know who wins, right? And we're like, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, and we know who wins. Everybody knows who wins because we keep score. But in a relationship, if you keep score, everybody's going to lose. And the reason we keep score is because it gives us leverage. And this is what it sounds like when you keep score in a house. These words get said a lot. Well, I remember when you spent more money. We didn't have that money. I remember when you did that. I remember when you had an affair, you kissed that girl, it's like you did that. I remember when you did that. I remember when you got drunk and you had that DUI. I remember that. And you just keep pulling that out ever so often because it gives you leverage and power and control. And that will be a very dangerous. And he's like, whoa, wait, are you telling me I have to forget about that stuff? Yeah, how am I supposed to forget about that? How am I supposed to deal with that? How am I supposed to ever, forgive that? That's going to take supernatural love. All those things are probably going to take supernatural love. And is it possible? Yes, absolutely. And we think all those things could be deal breakers, but I've seen people who, with the grace of God, manage their way and move their way through all those things. And if we can't forget, if we have trouble forgetting the things that our spouse or boyfriend, girlfriend, all that stuff, we will be stuck in a massive amount of mess because we will play that card every single time we need to get our way. Love has a bad memory when it comes to that. Otherwise, it will be nothing but a heartache. And it will be a big mistake because we can't move forward. So why don't you take a look at 1 Corinthians 13. And again, we're going to do an introspective work here now. This is not for your spouse. This is not for your boyfriend. This is not for your girl. This is for you and you alone, right? It's for me. So this is, again, I've said this before. This is how I deal with 1 Corinthians 13 all the time. And I put my name in 1 Corinthians when it talks about love, and this is how I do it. Mark is patient. Now, I don't need a scorecard. I don't need anybody laughing. I don't need anybody doing that, right? I know. Mark is patient, and Mark is kind. Mark is not jealous. Mark isn't boastful. Mark is not proud or rude. Mark doesn't demand his own way. Mark's not irritable. Mark never keeps score. Mark does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Mark never gives up, never loses faith. Mark is always hopeful. Mark will endure through every circumstance. So that's kind of how I do it. I think you can do that. You can spend a little bit of time, maybe even here in a moment, we push pause for a second in our service for communion, and just read that passage and pull it out, get it up on your phone, and just read it as if it's describing you. Not if it's describing your husband. You don't look at him and say, you need to read that, especially that first one. I think you got a real problem. Don't do that. This is for you. And don't walk out here today going, I'm buying this for him. I'm buying this for her. Right? You might even say, hey, it was fun today. You should listen to that. That's fine. But don't go home saying, wish you would have been there. You could have really used that. That will not be helpful at all. Okay. I'm trying to help you. But if you need to get this, just take a look at this for you today, right? Here we go. Let's pray. Thank you, God, for being so patient and kind towards me, always and forever. I'm glad that, I know there are people here today, single people who are in the middle of all this stuff. Some of them have given up. Some of them are not going to stop. It's just kind of how it is, where we're at. And so today maybe will be a day in which we would at least look inside of our hearts and our lives to see where we're at in this whole love thing. And, some of us are in a relationship where we feel like we made the biggest mistake and we're so far apart, and we're 2 years into the deal. And before the check gets cashed on that, I pray that maybe there'd be courage enough to go find some help and talk with a pastor or counselor and find the way back to love. I am super thankful today for the most patient and kind person I know that I get to live with, and I'm so thankful for her. In Christ's name, amen.